A special call meeting of Leitchfield City Council for today, September 22nd, in order to consider the second reading of the taxation of property tax, etc. And we just got a short agenda. We'll run right through that and call over pledge allegiance. Mr. Moon Smith, let's stand up for that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Moon. You have attached to your agenda the minutes of the September 19th meeting, Monday night's meeting. I didn't look over it. Did anybody have a chance to look over it? And are you going to make a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'm making a motion.
I'll second.
Second, Tootie, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, Sabrina, it looks like we're down to the second and final reading of the ordinance relating to the ad valorem taxation imposing the bank franchise and local deposit tax for 2022. I didn't think I'd ever get through that.
Yeah,
Okay, Arlene.
I volunteered. I hate that word also, Mayor. So, all right, whereas the City of Leitchfield is a municipal corporation of the home rule class in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and whereas City of Leitchfield is required by the Kentucky Revised Statutes to annually by ordinance provide for the assessment of all property within the corporate limits of the city and levy an ad valorem tax thereon, and whereas the City of Leitchfield is authorized by Chapter 136 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes to impose a bank franchise and local deposit tax, be it ordained by the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky, Section 1, that an ad valorem tax for 2022 of 12 cents of each 100 valuation is hereby levied on all motor vehicles, and a 21.59 cents of each 100 of other personal property, and a 16.7 cents of each 100 worth of property is hereby levied on all lands, improvements held or owned by any person, firm, company, corporation, or association in his, hers, theirs, or its name, or a fiduciary or agent, and subject to taxation under the laws of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, located in the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky, including all property and franchises heretofore and thereafter assessed by the Department of Revenue, the State Board of Valuation and Assessment and Railroad Commission, which assessments to the extent applicable shall be adapted by the city. Taxes realized from said levy shall be deposited in the general fund of the city and utilized for general municipal purposes as determined by the city council. B, that the taxes levied in this section shall become due and payable 30 days after the tax bill has been mailed, and if any tax bill is not paid 30 days thereafter, the tax bill declared delinquent shall be subject to a penalty of 6% and shall bear interest at the rate of 6% per annum until paid. A discount of 2% shall be allowed on all taxes paid prior to 30 days from the date tax bills are mailed. The taxes herein imposed shall be payable at City Hall, 515 South Main Street, Leitchfield, Kentucky, during regular business hours. That the collection of taxes, interest, and penalty shall be the duty of the city tax collector, who shall bill the taxes by mailing a statement to taxpayers. The city clerk treasurer so designated herein as the city tax collector. That for each calendar year, the assessment date for all property located within the corporate limits of Leitchfield, Kentucky shall be January 1st, and the valuation of property subject to taxation shall be insofar as is applicable the same assessed value as assessed by the Grayson County Property Valuation Administrator, who shall receive the fees provided by law for furnishing such assessments to the city. To the extent applicable, the assessment shall be provided by the State Department of Revenue, the State Board of Valuation, Assessment, and Railroad Commission shall be adopted by the city. Section 2, there is hereby imposed on all financial institutions as defined in KRS 136 located within the corporate limits of the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky for the 2022 tax year and all subsequent years a franchise tax at the rate of 0.025%. On all deposits as defined by KRS Chapter 136 maintained by such financial institutions, the City of Leitchfield will issue tax bills to financial institutions no later than December 1st of each year. Payment of the tax shall be due with a 2% discount by December 31st of each year, or without discount by January 31st of each year. All taxes imposed by this section which are not paid before January 31st shall be deemed delinquent, shall be subject to a penalty of 6%, and shall bear interest at the rate of 6% per annum. Section 3, City of Leitchfield, Kentucky shall have a lien for taxes upon any and all property subject to the tax imposed by this ordinance, which lien shall be superior to all encumbrances prior or subsequent. All monies collected pursuant to this ordinance shall be paid into the general fund of the city to be used for the payment of proper expenditures as determined by the city council. On about April 1st of each year, the city clerk treasurer shall prepare a list of all outstanding unpaid tax bills within the city and shall promptly cause such list showing the name of each delinquent taxpayer, the number of the tax bill, and the amount due to be published in the newspaper having the largest circulation in the county. Said publication shall indicate that a fee in the sum of $5 for each time the delinquent list is published shall be added to the amount owed on each delinquent tax bill. City clerk treasurer is hereby directed to send a copy of this ordinance to the Commissioner of the Kentucky Department of Revenue, Frankfort, Kentucky. This ordinance shall take effect upon its passage and publication according to law. I need to go ahead and take a vote.
Okay, does anybody got any questions about this? This is something we approved probably really 2 meetings ago. I'd like to have a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I second it.
All in favor? This is an individual vote in it. Moon, how do you vote on this? Clayton?
Nay.
Yay.
Yay.
Let the record show that Councilman Miller voted against it. And this ordinance passed, and that's be the tax rate for the city of Leitchfield. Okay. Clayton, do you wish to comment on any reason you might have voted no?
No, I just think at this time that the people have already subdued as much as they can take right now. It's the same thing that I said the last time, and it's just that I feel like the people needs to, we need to give a break, but, you know, I'm voted down 3-1, so you
That's
know.
all right. That's your privilege, and I just wanted to know. Okay, let's read on. First reading of the ordinance relating to the planning and zoning for a text amendment for the exclusive use zone.
All right, and this is the first reading, so no vote to be taken, and Tyler had presented this to the council prior about the recommendation from the planning and zoning. And attached, you'll see there was a notice of a public hearing regarding this ordinance. There was no objection to it, and also the recommendation and request on the Leitchfield Planning Commission is in support of this. So, of course, an ordinance has to be drafted. This is a first reading. If anybody has any questions, you know, I can direct them to Tyler. I don't participate in the planning and zoning meetings, of course, but I can always have Tyler here at the second reading, or I can direct questions to him, or you can, so. All right, an ordinance amending the text of the Leitchfield zoning ordinance to create an exclusive use zone. Whereas the City of Leitchfield Planning Commission of Leitchfield, Kentucky held a public hearing on August 8th, 2022 at 5:00 p.m. at Leitchfield City Hall, 515 South Main Street, Leitchfield, Kentucky, to discuss the possible amendment of the Leitchfield zoning ordinance to create an exclusive use zone, and it received no public objection to the proposed text amendment, and the proposed amendment has been recommended for approval of the Leitchfield City Council by recommendation of the Leitchfield Planning Commission. Whereas it is appropriate to amend the ordinance to create an exclusive use zone classification to allow flexibility in the development and use of a particular property. It will allow specific site and use standards to be enumerated and applied. Whereas such standards will protect the public health, safety, and welfare more adequately, will ensure more equal treatment of the same or similar uses, and allow uses and site standards that will promote the needs of the community. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky as follows, that the zoning ordinance be amended and readopted as follows to create the following additional exclusive use zone classification. Added language is signified by a solid line drawn beneath it. Exclusive use zones purpose. Within the City of Leitchfield, there are a number of land activities that have characteristics of operations or development that do not readily permit classification in the usual residential, commercial, industrial, public, or agricultural districts. However, they are necessary to the livability, development, or economic health of the community, or of such character that their specific control is necessary. Some of the activities are permitted as conditional uses within the particular residential, commercial, industrial, agricultural, or public zones, but the need for specifically enumerated performance standards and site standards make inclusive as a conditional use in a particular zone inadequate, since the restrictions in each zone must be applied equally to all uses within the zone to endeavor to ensure consistent and equal treatment, and the conditions that may be attached by the Board of Adjustment may result in treatment that is inconsistent and unequal. The exclusive use zone classification will allow flexibility in the development and use of particular property. It will allow specific site and use standards to be enumerated and applied. Such standards will protect the public health, safety, and welfare more adequately, will ensure more equal treatment of the same or similar uses, and allow uses and site standards that will promote the needs of the community. Activities and properties placed in an exclusive use zone are those which are not capable of ready classification, such as residential, commercial, industrial, public, agricultural, or which require specific, unique regulation unnecessary or inappropriate to other uses properly classified as to zone. Each such zone shall be designated exclusive use zone, etc., in order of adoption. Each exclusive use zone adopted shall be included as an appendix to Article 3.8 of the zoning ordinance of the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky. Requirements for all exclusive use zones. Each exclusive use zone must include the following: if applicable, definition of the specific use to be permitted, site design and locational standards such as light, yard, and height requirements, landscape buffer and fencing requirements, sign restrictions, access design requirements and limitations, drainage requirements, off-street parking requirements, other site and design requirements determined to be necessary to make the exclusive use capable with neighboring land uses likely to be affected by such activity or use. Bonding requirements. Performance bonds may be required, setting forth the amount and duration. Procedure. Required steps for exclusive use zone approval. Exclusive use zone is approved in the same way as a zoning map amendment, rezoning. A recommendation concerning the approval, the designation of exclusive use zone is forwarded to the City Council after a public hearing for its final action. The specific steps for approval and order for occurrence are as follows: pre-application conference with zoning administrator to review requests and provide suggestions concerning timing, designations requested, site design and layout, as well as any other and relevant matter. Application provided by the Planning Commission Office is completed and submitted prior to established deadlines. All supplemental materials or attachments must be submitted, or the application will be considered incomplete and not accepted. The Planning Commission shall hold a public hearing as for a proposed map amendment as provided by KRS 424, Chapter 10 of the Comprehensive Plan, Section 2.10 of the zoning ordinance of the City of Leitchfield, Kentucky, and KRS Chapter 100. The public hearing shall consider all aspects of the application. Within 30 days after the last public hearing on the application, the Planning Commission shall prepare and transmit to the City Council and the applicant specific finding of facts together with its recommendations to the City Council with respect to the action to be taken on the application for an exclusive use zone. The City Council shall have a period of 60 days to approve or reject by resolution the application. If the application is rejected, the written reasons for such rejection shall be made available. The development plan will be considered as a preliminary plat. After approval by the City Council, a final development plan shall be submitted to the Planning Commission for its consideration and approval. The submission of the final development plan must be made within 120 days of the final approval of the exclusive use zone designation, or that designation which will become null and void. The Planning Commission shall review and approve, if appropriate, the final development plan within 2 months of the approval of the final development plan. A copy of the final development plan with appropriate original signatures affixed shall be filed with the Grayson County Clerk as a plat. Failure to file a final development plan shall void the development plan and exclusive use zone approvals. After the filing of the final development plan, the owner developer of the property approved for an exclusive use zone shall have 3 years to develop the property as set out in the final development plan, or the development plan and exclusive use zone approvals shall become null and void.
Is this your first reading of that?
This is a first reading, so we won't take a vote on it. And if anybody has questions, Tyler will probably be at the next meeting if you want to address anything that was commented on at the public hearing, so.
Okay. Any update on garbage cans is on here?
Yes, at our meeting that was that last week or this week? It was this week, wasn't it?
This week.
Yeah, okay, it's been a long week. Wes had commented on the garbage cans, and what he had done is turned over all the information to me about who he's wanting to purchase those from. I'm just waiting on sending out an email out and getting confirmation with that company on one of the issues. Once I get that, I'd talk to Wes about a plan of when we would order, and I think we'll probably be able to order by early next week. And then he said about 5 to 6 weeks to get in. While we're waiting for them to come in, what I'd like to do, there's gonna have to be some ordinances amended and added to deal with it, like Wes had talked about, so that would give us that time period to get those ordinances in line for their arrival. So, I'm guessing like mid-November, late November or so.
I want to make sure that the design and color of them is looked over by the council and the mayor itself, to make sure what we get is the color. Like I said, he's going to have the Leitchfield seal on there. I don't want no private seals. I want the round seal that we're using on all of our vehicles on it.
You know, I don't know much about the design.
Well,
I'm
Wes
sure
is off.
I'm sure it'll be a part of the contract, and that, I'll make sure that's in the contract.
Yeah, West
but-
is off, so I'm sure the next meeting that we can discuss
He
that.
said black lids and blue bottoms.
Yeah, and I think he had them up here to
Yeah.
show
Yeah,
everybody.
I didn't
last
look at them, I should have. For some reason, I talked to somebody.
But I'll make sure, because it'll be like a purchase agreement or contract, and I'm sure that'll be stated in there for me to
Yeah.
look over, so.
I want to make sure that they spell mine and Tootie's name right. Moon, you got any comment? Clayton Miller, you got any comment?
No, sir.
Anybody else? Heather, it's good to have you here. Heather and Lori and I is getting ready to go to meet with the governor in Ohio County. So we'll be leaving here in a few minutes. Do you hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll say.
All in favor? Thank you all very much for coming in during the day on Thursday. I know it's an inconvenience for some people, but I'd rather do that than